Thank you, Prof. As Chumme, is it, said in the clip just now, there's no justice. So I don't know whether I can ever do justice to being a member of this panel. Because when Professor Koh approached me, I told him, that I know very little about the Holocaust. And if you wanted me to speak as a Muslim, I am a Muslim, not a scholar. And I don't know very much how actually the Muslim community look at the Holocaust. But I've been to 3 Holocaust museums. I've been to Auschwitz. I've been to Phnom Penh. And I thought I should just share this journey with you. Prof. Tommy Koh, Ambassador, Mr. Richard Magnus, Mahdev, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, our beloved students. The reason I say beloved is like Mahdev, I feel that this kind of a session is very important for the succeeding and next generation to be part of this journey too. May I start off by sharing with you how I was almost killed in the racial riots. This was, I think as Richard mentioned just now, in July and September 1974. I was in school then. It was a Friday, and Muslim students were allowed to leave school early at 12. But we did not know that, in fact, after I left school at 12 to go to the mosque, curfew had been called. Riots had broken out. This was in September, after the July riots. And me and my friends, Muslim friends, we went to the City Hall then, where PUB was, to pay our bills, my friend's water bill. And we were told, what are you kids doing here? Rush home. Curfew had been called, and there are riots all over Singapore. Then we rushed to Victoria Street from City Hall, found that the streets were jammed, no transport. But I saw a lorry, an empty lorry, and I quickly looked at the driver. I saw a Chinese. But then I saw a Malay attendant, so I thought not too bad. So a group of us Malays jumped onto the lorry, and we drove on until we came to where Lavender MRT station is today. There, in those days, we have only cottage industries, ironmongers and ironsmith. And you know what? The lorry went dead right in front of those row of shop houses. And 20 of us in the lorry stood up, tried to get new transport. And we saw a group of Chinese boys lining the street then. And what went through the minds of the Chinese? This is a group of Malays who were there to attack them. Pandemonium broke loose, and the next few seconds, I saw in my own eyes Chinese boys coming out from their cottage industries with iron rods, acid bulbs, bicycle chains, and in front of I could see in my own eyes how innocent people were maimed or killed. I frantically managed to get another transport, clinging on to the doors of a taxi, moving taxi, and escape. Another friend of mine, a Malay, who looks like a Chinese, wasn't even paying attention to. He looked like a Chinese, so it didn't matter, so there were Chinese attacking Malays. But the story did not end there. When I reached Geylang Serai, I saw the reverse of the story. Malays were just attacking Chinese for no other reason than because they belong to a different race or different color. That drove the lesson to me about the importance of racial harmony. Until today, wherever I can, I will try and play my part. And that's why when I was invited by Professor Tommy Koh to share, I thought I should do that. Destiny works in very interesting ways. And I'm not just talking about the last general elections. And after the racial riots of 1974, I went to Now, in fact, before that, I went to Libya for a conference. I was invited by President Gaddafi to adopt his third international theory, or called the Green Book. All Muslim youth at that time was looking up to President Gaddafi as a hero. He was one of those who was able to stand up against the giant America. And we looked up to him as a man who could actually deliver that promise of Muslims coming back as leaders. But we went there, we were disappointed, and we rejected. The Muslim conference, the Muslim leaders, student leaders, youth leaders, rejected his third international theory and the Green Book because we felt it was too exclusive. Gaddafi had wanted that, and he was saying that capitalism was decadent, communism was on the verge of collapse. This was back in 1973, before 1990, where the empire collapsed. And he said the only way forward for the world was Islam. Islam must be the answer to the world's woes. But we rejected that because we saw there was a lot of hypocrisy, there was a lot of untruth, and we wanted a more inclusive approach towards tackling our challenges then, and I'm sure equally important today. When I first started thinking about this topic, I asked a few Muslim friends. So they said, "You're crazy or what? How can you go and talk on the Holocaust? You will never be able to please the Jews, neither will you be able to please the Muslims. So what are you going to say?" I said, "I just want to share my own feelings, my own journey, because after all, I have friends, Jewish friends." I remember Rabbi Mordecai, when he had problems in getting kosher meat from Australia for some religious function. And I was in the government then. I was able to intervene with the AVA and managed to get kosher meat out in time for the ceremony. I also remember how Habib Hassan, the Imam of the Baalwi Mosque in Bukit Timah, who speaks out very eloquently and frankly and candidly and strongly in support of interreligious harmony, where we have in Singapore, as Professor Someko mentioned, the IRO, the interreligious organization, that work very closely. And in fact, Rabbi was at one time, a few years back, the chairman of the IRO. Where in the world can you get a leader of a small a small minority, religious minority in Singapore becoming the chairman of that interreligious organization? This is Singapore we are proud of. This is Singapore which we try to preserve, to make sure that harmony will prevail. I was in Slovakia once, and my daughter, who arranged for the tour, told me that the best way to get halal meat, halal food, is to go to a kosher restaurant. So we did. We walked quite a long way, and we came to the restaurant, only to our disappointment to be told, "This is Jewish restaurant, not kosher." It puzzled me a while, you know. So then I was told that, in fact, these are all traditionally Jewish food, but not kosher. So that also, to me, was educational. You can be Jewish and you may not be kosher. But that also reflects on me when I visited the various Holocaust museums. Do you know how many Holocaust museums there are in this world? There are 62 of them. There are 62 Holocaust museums in the world, the list which I was shown. 25 in the United States of America, of course in Israel, I think 8 in Israel, 4 in Poland, in Germany too, I think 4 or 8. And I've been to the one in New York. This was very early in my journeys, in my travels, and I make it a point to see the Holocaust Museum.